Hey folks, we're on location at Hempfest Edmonton with the Cassius Morris Show with a very special guest. He's the founder of the Vancouver Seed Bank and the Canadian Marijuana Party. It's Dana Larsen. Hey.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me here.
Good, definitely. Thanks for coming on. So first off, talk to me about the legal, or I guess free cannabis seeds. You were arrested in Calgary for that, and I'm glad to see that you're still handing them out. What's the motivation for this?
Well, last year I got my hands on several million low THC, high CBD cannabis seeds, and I started giving them away. I announced I was going to send them out by mail or in person to anybody who wanted them. And in the end, last year, I gave away over 2.5 million seeds all across the country. I did a national tour, and the second stop on that tour was in Calgary, and I ended up being arrested there and charged with trafficking in low THC cannabis seeds. And they want to go to trial on that. I'm still facing those charges. I got to call my bail supervisor on Monday and report in. But it's absurdity. And of course, I went to 20 more cities after Calgary, including Edmonton, and there was no police and no problems and nobody cared, which they shouldn't. But this year we're doing it again. I've already mailed out about 1.2 million seeds to 12,000 people that signed up. Everybody gets 100 seeds who signed up. And then we're probably going to have another 5,000 or 10,000 sign up online. And plus, I'm here in Edmonton. I was in Kamloops. I'm going to be in Lethbridge and Nelson, and then touring all across the country, doing about 24 cities. And I give away as many seeds as I can, and I talk to as many people as I can, and I spread the good news about cannabis and encourage everybody to overgrow the government and plant these seeds in public places and parks and traffic circles and in front of the police station and city hall and on your own front yard. And the idea is if we can get cannabis growing openly and freely everywhere, then that's kind of legal if nobody cares about it growing anymore. And so I'm trying to create the reality that I want to see, and I want to see a Canada with a lot of cannabis. So I'm trying to make that a reality.
So on legalization, do you see the stigma of marijuana fading? And if so, how long do you think it's going to take for that stigma to fade?
Well, at an event like this where I talk to hundreds of people and everybody's very enthusiastic and people are like, I love this place, it's great being here. No stigma here at all, but I think there's still this fear about what everyone else is going to think. And I talk to people here who are grown adults who don't tell their parents that they use cannabis because they don't want to have that conversation or something. And I think that's unfortunate because cannabis is so much better and safer than pretty much any other substance. And for all the cannabis users to be afraid to tell all these boozers that we prefer cannabis to their alcohol is really quite absurd. But I think that stigma is going to be around for a while. I think that for a lot of people, they were indoctrinated at a very young age against cannabis. We see ads on TV, they're told in school, there's a lot of this pressure. People tell me sometimes I'm allergic to cannabis smoke, and I think it's more that they just don't like it because they associate that smell with uncomfortable feelings and with criminality and gangsters and violence and all these bad things, and so it creates that kind of connotation. But I feel that when people get to know cannabis and cannabis users, then that stigma goes away. And I think part of it is that a lot of people who don't use cannabis don't think they know anybody else that uses it. Just like it's easy to think that gay people are all a certain way if you don't think you've ever met one, or black people, or whatever group, like you kind of have a stereotype vision. Then you go, well, you smoke pot, but you're not a hippie, or you smoke pot and you're my grandma. And then you start to recognize that we're just like everybody else. And so I think that having that direct experience is what will end up breaking that stigma.
I agree, and you come correct to these events. You're wearing a suit and such. What are your thoughts on people who are very loud about their cannabis use and wear like the tie-dye and the Dab Champ shirts and all that? Is that a negative thing for the culture, or is it a good thing for the culture?
Oh, I don't think it's a negative thing at all. I mean, I try to dress up, but I'm on the news a lot and doing media, and I want to represent and try to look good. I don't really dress like this around the house. I wear my weed T-shirts and stuff too, right?
Same.
I got no problem how people want to dress, but I think how you behave. I think as a cannabis user, just like a lot of other sort of marginalized groups, you got to kind of represent your culture and maybe try to be a little better because of that, and so I think that's important. But I don't begrudge anybody, how they want to dress or how they want to promote their love of cannabis, and I love seeing people wearing cannabis clothes and talking about it and being open in their use. I think that like being proud of it and being loud and proud. I use cannabis. We're here, we're high, get used to it. I have no problem with that kind of attitude and that kind of slogan at all.
Very good. Final question for you. Why do you think with legalization coming, the Canadian government is, as I'd say, wasting time going after people like you and Marc Emery for seeds and such? Why?
That's a really good question, and I think it's a really futile effort they're engaging in. And the reason we're at this supposed verge of legalization, it's not because our politicians want to do the right thing. It's because they've lost control over the cannabis movement and over prohibition, largely because the courts aren't willing to punish us, and people like me and Marc and many other Canadians are standing up and willing to get busted because they believe this is the right thing to do. And when that many people stand up, it's very hard, especially in a democracy, to push them down, right? Unless they're going to come start shooting people or putting us in jail for 20 years, which nobody wants. And so that allows us to make that change. And we've come so far in Canada. You know, we have these kind of events. Almost everything here is illegal. Rolling papers are illegal in Canada. My books about marijuana are illegal in Canada.
Yeah.
Bongs and pipes, they're all banned, right? But we have got past those laws by just ignoring them. And so I think they're coming after us now because they want to maintain control, and we're the ones forcing them to lose control. When I give away seeds, everyone can grow it. There's no corporate control there. When Marc's opening dispensaries and selling to every adult who comes in and opening the way for many others to do the same thing and open dispensaries, then they're losing control that way too. But that's what's wonderful about cannabis. As a plant, it can't really be controlled. It grows openly and freely. And so I feel these efforts that they're doing to try to make it so companies like Metrum and Tweed can cash in, I think it's not going to work, because cannabis is intrinsically uncontrollable, a natural wild thing that anybody can grow in their home really easily. So I'm not really afraid of these charges. I think that Marc and myself are unlikely to ever go to trial for these kind of things.
Yeah.
The process is the punishment, and the bail is the punishment. And when they get to trial, they just drop the charges, and then they just forget about it. So we're going to win. I'm very confident of that.
I'm glad. I hope you do, and I hope to see the government lose control of this. Thank you so much, and keep up the efforts. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Overgrowcanada.com. If anybody wants to get some seeds from me, if you're watching this, overgrowcanada.com. I will send you 100 free cannabis seeds. Just order.
He's not kidding, folks. He's not kidding.
Seeds for everybody. Right on. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Take care.